Today, we're diving into something a little different. Not how to survive the fungal apocalypse, but why you really don't want to become one of its poster children. That's right, we're breaking down why being a clicker in The Last of Us is pretty much the worst thing that could happen to you, short of being stuck in an elevator with a bloater after taco night. Now, we've all played the games or watched the HBO show and thought, man, those clickers are terrifying. But have you ever stopped to consider how much it would suck to actually be one? I mean, beyond the obvious fashion disaster of having a mushroom for a face. So grab your shivs, hit that subscribe button, and get comfortable. But not too comfortable, because by the end of this video, you'll be thankful for your functioning eyeballs and distinct lack of fungal plates. Let's get clicking. Before we dive into the horror show, let's get everyone on the same page. In the Last of Us universe, clickers are humans who became infected by the cordyceps brain fungus for about a year. And no, this isn't your standard zombie situation. These folks aren't dead. That's actually worse, as we'll get into it. The cordyceps fungus is based on a real-world fungus that infects insects, particularly ants, and takes control of their bodies. Naughty Dog just thought, hey, what if this happened to people? Because apparently they wanted us to have nightmares forever. By the time someone becomes a clicker, they've already gone through two earlier stages of infection. First, you're a runner, still looking mostly human, but acting like you've had 17 espressos and a bad case of rabies. Then you graduate to stalker, where fungal growth starts protruding from your body, particularly your face. Finally, after about a year, congrats, you're now a clicker. By this point, the fungus has completely taken over your brain and erupted through your skull, destroying your eyes and facial features in the process. Your head literally splits open to make room for mushroom growth. And you know what? Your dental insurance definitely doesn't cover that. Clickers are completely blind, but have developed a creepy echolocation ability, hence the name. They make this distinctive clicking sound to navigate their surroundings. Picture a dolphin, but instead of being cute and playful, it wants to tear your throat out. Not exactly SeaWorld material. But here's the kicker, you're still technically alive in there. The fungus doesn't kill you. It just hijacks your body and keeps you breathing long enough to spread itself around. Which brings us to our first major reason why being a clicker is a one-star experience. Imagine waking up tomorrow with absolutely no control over your body, no ability to speak or think, and a burning desire to attack anyone not infected with your particular brand of fungus. Oh, and your face is gone. That's basically what happens when you become a clicker. The cordyceps infection doesn't just make you sick, it completely erases who you are. As Ellie bluntly puts it to Sam in the game, they might still look like people, but that person is not in there anymore. Think about that for a second. Everything that makes you, your memories, your personality, your weird obsessions with collecting vintage cereal boxes, no judgment. All of that is gone. Or worse, maybe it's not entirely gone, which brings us to the most disturbing question of all. Are you still conscious in there somewhere? This is the horror that Sam brings up when he asks Ellie if infected people are still aware inside their bodies, but can't control what they're doing. It's like being trapped in the worst escape room ever, except the room is your own body, and there's no hint system. The developers at Naughty Dog have described animating clickers as if they're puppets being pulled by strings. The fungus is literally puppeteering your body. Lead cinematic animator Bryant Wilson said they approach clickers as alive human beings that have something pulling their strings. Imagine being conscious but having absolutely zero control over your actions. That's not just terrifying, it's a complete violation of everything that makes us human. And even if your consciousness is fully gone, which would honestly be merciful, the transformation process itself is apparently excruciating. Early stage infected are often seen moaning in pain, or even clawing at their own face as the fungus takes over. Some have been observed crying out in what seems like agony as their bodies are reshaped from the inside out. The audio team from the games designed the clicker's sound to include elements that convey human-like emotions, anger, anguish, pain. They treated these noises like dialogue of a character, according to audio lead Philip Kovacs. So even if you're not home anymore, your body is still expressing some kind of primal suffering. It's enough to make being deleted from existence sound like a sweet alternative. Let's talk about the physical transformation, which is basically body horror cranked up to 11. Remember how I mentioned your face splitting open? Yeah, that's not a metaphor. The fungus literally cracks your skull apart to make room for its fruiting bodies. Your eyes, gone. Your face, unrecognizable under layers of hardened fungal plates. You're walking around with what amounts to a mushroom pizza for a head. The fungus doesn't just take over your brain, it restructures your entire body. Those fungal plates act like armor, making clickers incredibly durable, but they also warp your posture, causing you to twitch and jerk around unnaturally. Your movements become sporadic and unpredictable, like a malfunctioning robot or someone trying to dance to dubstep for the first time. And then there's the clicking itself. Your vocal cords, once used for singing in the shower or telling bad jokes, now only produce those wet, guttural clicking sounds. The original voice actress for the clickers, Misty Lee, created that iconic sound by experimenting with her throat in a way that sounded weirdly dolphin-like. I'm guessing it wasn't comfortable to produce, and it's certainly not pleasant to hear. Oh, and if you're one of the lucky ones who survives for years as a clicker, you might evolve into a bloater or a shambler, massive fungal tanks covered in pustules that can release toxic spores or fungal clouds. At that point, you're basically a walking biological weapon with zero self-awareness. Not exactly living your best life. But hey, at least you got that cool clicking sound, right? No? Yeah, didn't think so. As if losing your identity and physical form wasn't bad enough, now everyone who used to be your friend, family member, or random acquaintance wants to put you down like Old Yeller after a bad day. In The Last of Us world, encountering an infected loved one is the most traumatic experiences imaginable. Think about Sam and Henry. When Sam turns, Henry doesn't hesitate to shoot his own brother to save Ellie. Then, overwhelmed by what he's done, Henry takes his own life. That's how horrifying the situation is. Some people would rather die than live with the reality of what happened to someone they loved. Or consider Riley, Ellie's best friend and first love. When they both get bitten, they make that heartbreaking decision to lose their minds together, rather than end things quickly. Of course, we know Ellie is immune, but Riley? She became one of the very things they feared. In this world, killing an infected person is seen as mercy. There's a reason why the games and show are filled with notes and stories about people choosing to end their lives upon discovering they're infected. One mother gave her children lethal doses of pills when their hiding place was overran because the thought of them becoming infected was worse than death. Bill's partner Frank, upon getting infected, left a note saying he'd rather die as a human than live as a monster before hanging himself. The narrative constantly reinforces this idea. Become infected is worse than death. So not only are you losing yourself, but everyone who once cared about you now sees shooting you in the head as the kind of definition of love. Talk about adding insult to injury, or I guess in this case, adding a bullet to fungal infection. There's a dark irony to the clickers that makes their existence even more tragic. Despite losing all semblance of humanity, they're still undeniably human in origin. They're not demons or aliens or the Walking Dead. They're sick people who had the cosmic bad luck of catching the wrong infection. In the HBO series, this is emphasized when Tess is about to turn, An infected person approaches her and doesn't attack. It recognizes she's already infected. Instead, it passes more of the fungus to her through a disturbing kiss of tendrils. As Neil Druckmann explained, these things don't have to get violent unless you're fighting them. The cordyceps is realized in this beauty, yet horrific way. The infected aren't evil, they're victims of a natural process gone horribly wrong. The fungus isn't malicious, it's just doing what fungi do, spreading and reproducing. It's a force of nature that happens to use human bodies as its vehicle. That's perhaps the most tragic part of all. There's no villain to blame, no evil mastermind behind the apocalypse. It's just biology gone wrong. As Bill says in the game, as bad as those things are, at least they're predictable. It's the normal people that scare me. And that brings us to perhaps the most disturbing aspect of all. One of the most haunting elements in The Last of Us is the reminder that every single infected, every runner, stalker, clicker, and bloater was once a person with hopes, dreams, and people who loved them. Remember that child clicker in the HBO series? The one in the blue dress who attacks Kathleen? That wasn't just a random monster. That was someone's daughter. A little girl who probably had favorite toys, food she hated, and parents who would have done anything to protect her. Now she's just another faceless horror in the fungal horde. Think about the horrifying museum scene where Joel, Tess, and Ellie encounter clickers for the first time. Those weren't always monsters. They were probably tourists or museum staff who got caught when the outbreak hit. Maybe they were excited about a new exhibit, or maybe they were just having a normal workday when the world ended. Now they're just obstacles in our hero's path. The game is filled with environmental storytelling that reinforces this tragedy. You'll find notes from people in their final moments, family photos next to infected corpses, children's toys in abandoned nurseries, all reminders that these monsters were once people. Every time you hear that clicking in the darkness, remember that used to be someone. They had a name, a face, a favorite song. Now they're just another faceless creature in the dark, hunting by sound alone. And that's truly the most heartbreaking part of all. So there you have it. Why being a clicker in The Last of Us is pretty much the worst fate imaginable. You lose your identity, your body becomes a fungal horror show, everyone wants to kill you, including your loved ones, and worst of all, there's nothing inherently evil about what just happened to you, just cruel biology. Next time you're playing the game or watching the show and you put down a clicker with a shiv or a shotgun blast, maybe take a second to think about the person they used to be, or don't, because that's actually super depressing, and you probably have enough dread in your life already. If there's one thing we can learn from The Last of Us, it's that sometimes the real monsters isn't the fungus face clicking abominations that's trying to eat your face. It's the loss of humanity, both literally for the infected and figuratively for the survivors who had to make impossible choices. But hey, at least you're not a bloater, right? That's a whole nother video. If you enjoyed this deep dive into fungal body horror, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, and let me know in the comments what other horrifying video game fates you'd like me to analyze next. Until next time, stay unaffected, friends.